She left me for another man during her girls' trip, but the bank said deny. My name is Jason Miller. I'm 38 years old. I work in logistics. Nothing flashy. Just a guy who believed in hard work, quiet loyalty, and building a simple, solid life. For the past 6 years I've been married to someone I thought was building it with me. I wasn't flashy, rich, or dramatic, but I was steady. I was present. And I was faithful. Turns out, that's not what she wanted. I remember the exact moment the message came through. I was sitting on our back porch, sipping coffee from a mug she gave me last Christmas. It said, "Love you always," in faded script. Funny how those words can rot in your hands once you know the truth. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the backyard we built together. And I was thinking about how quiet the house felt with her gone. A girls' trip, she'd said. Just a few days in Miami with her college friends. I'd helped her pack. Even drove her to the airport, kissed her goodbye. Told her to have fun. To be safe. I meant every word. I had no reason not to trust her. Until the text arrived. It wasn't long. Just 3 lines. "Jason, I'm sorry. I met someone. I think I need something different. Please don't make this harder than it already is." No explanation. No conversation. No warning. After 6 years of marriage and a decade together, that was it. A digital bullet fired from 800 miles away. She didn't call. Didn't ask how I was. Didn't even check if I'd seen the message. She just vanished into the ocean breeze and decided to erase me like a typo in her perfect vacation itinerary. For a few minutes I stared at the screen, thinking maybe it was a joke. Maybe one of her friends had taken her phone. Maybe she was drunk. Maybe there was some kind of mix-up. But deep down, my gut already knew. This wasn't sudden. This was planned. The trip wasn't for healing or reconnecting with friends. It was the launchpad for an exit she had engineered without my knowledge. A goodbye she didn't even have the decency to say face to face. I didn't respond. What was there to say? I set the phone down on the porch railing and stared out across the yard, wondering how many things in my life were already gone and I just hadn't noticed yet. The woman I kissed goodbye was never coming back. The life I thought we were building had been taken apart behind my back, quietly, efficiently, and the worst part, I had no idea how long she'd been preparing for this. Later that night, when the shock wore off just enough for the numbness to settle in, I did the one thing she probably didn't expect me to do. I checked our bank account. The login screen blinked back at me like it knew. I hadn't checked our bank account in over a week. Not since she left for the trip. Normally I didn't need to. We had a system. She handled groceries and household expenses. I managed the bills and long-term savings. It had always worked. Or so I thought. But that night, with the weight of betrayal already pressing on my chest, I opened our joint account and felt the bottom fall out of my stomach. The balance was just under $90. In an account that had nearly $15,000 only 2 weeks earlier. The transaction history looked like a slow, careful bleed. Not reckless spending. Not a mistake. A plan. Small daily transfers to an unfamiliar external bank. Every day she was gone. Another few thousand disappeared. Quietly. Intentionally. At first I couldn't even breathe. I just stared at the list of debits, frozen. Restaurant charges. Hotel fees. Rideshare apps in cities we didn't live in. A single charge from a jewelry store that made me physically nauseous, and all of it had happened while I was still packing her sunscreen. Still hugging her goodbye at the airport. She hadn't just left me. She had looted our life while I stood smiling in the doorway waving her off. But the most brutal part? She wasn't even done. One pending transaction stood out. A large transfer scheduled to hit the next morning. The last of what remained. It wasn't accidental. It was coordinated. She wanted to make sure I didn't have enough time to react. She thought I'd be too shocked to respond. She thought I'd crumble. She thought she had broken me. But she forgot one thing. I may be slow to anger, but I'm not stupid, and I've always known how to plan. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I pulled out every document we had: account numbers, mortgage papers, insurance policies. I made calls. I spoke to the bank's 24-hour fraud department. I answered security questions, verified ownership, and had the entire joint account frozen by 4 a.m. The pending transfer. Blocked. Denied. She'd wake up expecting one last payday and find nothing waiting for her but a wall. It wasn't revenge. Not yet. It was defense. It was survival. But something had clicked inside me. Something colder, sharper than grief. She wanted a new life? Fine. I was about to show her just how expensive leaving me could be. By sunrise, I was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of bitter black coffee and a stack of files spread out in front of me. The house felt like a ghost. Her jacket still hung on the coat hook. Her coffee mug sat rinsed in the drying rack, but she was gone, not just physically but intentionally, deliberately. She had extracted herself from this lace like it was a costume she'd grown tired of. And now that I had stopped the money from bleeding out, I was left with one question. What else had she touched? The savings account was fine. Untouched because it was in my name only. She probably didn't even realize it existed. I had opened it, years ago, as a rainy day fund. Just a small stash pulled quietly from bonuses and side work over the years. Nothing major, but now it felt like a lifeline. I had $5,000. Not much to rebuild a life with, but enough to breathe while the dust settled. I contacted the mortgage lender next. Had she tried anything there? Refinance? Title changes? No. Everything was still in order, and I double-checked to lock it down. Passwords, two-step verifications, legal alerts, everything, every account we'd ever created together. I took back piece by piece like reclaiming stolen land. She thought she had been quiet, precise, but I was quieter, and now, I was building a perimeter. I called our joint credit card company and explained the situation. They froze the account immediately. I submitted a statement contesting every charge made while she was out of town. Fraudulent activity under joint agreement. They opened an investigation. Told me I wouldn't be liable for anything until it was resolved. Another wall built. Another rate she thought she could use. Cut off. But I wasn't just playing defense anymore. I started gathering screenshots, statements, her message, the withdrawal history. I compiled it all, organized it into folders, labeled everything. Because if she pushed this further, if she tried to spin the story, to claim victimhood or manipulate what I had left, I wanted to be ready. No courtroom was going to hear only her side. Not this time. She had no idea I'd already spoken to a lawyer that morning. Not just any lawyer. My cousin Evan. Sharp, cutthroat, loyal to blood and nobody else. I sent him the file. He called me 30 minutes later and said, "You don't just have a case, Jason. You have a blueprint for total leverage." And that's when I realized. She might have started this, but I was going to finish it. 2 days passed before she contacted me again. No apology, no explanation, just a text that read, "Hey, can we talk about the money?" I stared at it for a long time. So that's what she wanted to talk about. Not the betrayal, not the years we'd shared, not the fact that she'd ripped my life open without a warning. Just the money. That was the center of her concern. The silence between us had been deafening, but now that she hit a financial wall, she suddenly remembered I existed. I didn't answer. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Let her feel what she left me with. Absence. Let her sit in it. A few hours later, another message arrived. Longer this time. "I don't know why you're acting like this. I thought we agreed to be mature. You're making things harder than they need to be." That one almost made me laugh. She left me through a text message from across the country and drained our account like a thief in the night, and I was the one being immature. By then, I had already moved forward with legal paperwork. Evan helped me draft a formal notification of financial dispute, which we emailed directly to her. Everything she had withdrawn beyond her share was itemized. Every unauthorized charge flagged, a total figure at the bottom with a bold heading, "Pending restitution amount." The moment she opened it, I saw the read receipt pop up. 10 minutes later, she called. I didn't pick up. Instead, I forwarded the entire message thread to Evan. He replied within seconds, "Perfect. Keep letting her talk. Don't respond. We're building a timeline." I felt a sense of control I hadn't felt since this began. Not revenge. Just calm, methodical reclaiming of everything she tried to take. She hadn't just hurt me. She'd underestimated me. And that's what was going to undo her. On day 4, she called from a blocked number. Left a voicemail that sounded more like panic than anger. "I don't understand why the bank wouldn't let me finish the transfer. It was a joint account. I had every right." She sounded like someone who was just now realizing there were consequences, that her careful little escape plan had overlooked one crucial detail. I wasn't the fool she thought I was. She had walked away believing I'd collapse without her, that I'd be too heartbroken to fight back. But what she didn't know is that I had spent my entire life learning how to stay calm in the middle of chaos. Logistics taught me that. Marriage, too, in its own way. You don't scream. You don't panic. You plan. You adjust. You adapt. And when the storm clears, you're still standing while everyone else is trying to figure out what just hit them. The next week, she came back into town. I didn't know at first, but I saw the charge attempt hit the account declined, of course. Then my neighbor texted me, said she saw some woman pulling into the driveway in a rental car. That's when I checked the doorbell cam. It was her same sunglasses, same carry-on from the trip. Except this time she wasn't glowing with excitement. She looked confused, disoriented, like she couldn't understand why the world wasn't bending for her anymore. She knocked. I didn't answer. I watched from my phone as she tried the front door, locked of course. She paced for a while, then sat on the steps, head in her hands. After about 15 minutes she left. No note, no apology, just silence. And to be honest, I felt nothing. No urge to open the door, no temptation to talk it out. That part of me, the one that used to wait up late and forgive too easily, was gone. Instead, I forwarded the doorbell footage to Evan. He added it to the case file, then said, "We're ready to file." The suit wasn't about the money anymore. It was about principle, about accountability. She had crossed the line, and now she was going to learn that you don't get to light someone's life on fire and walk away like it's a game. The claim included unauthorized withdrawal, financial misconduct, and proposed equitable distribution, which, based on her behavior, wouldn't favor her. She called again that night. This time the voicemail had shifted tones. "Jason, I don't know what's going on, but this is really unfair. I made a mistake, okay? But we can fix this. I didn't mean for it to be so messy." That's when it hit me. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry it didn't work. Sorry she got caught mid-escape with the bag of money and the fantasy man and a new life half built on my dime. I still didn't respond. Instead, I took Ranger, my rescue mutt who never left my side through this whole mess, and we went for a long walk down by the river. The sun was low, the air sharp and clean. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't playing defense. I wasn't scrambling to catch up. I was ahead, and she was the one trying to figure out what just happened. That night, I slept deeply. No texts, no dreams, no noise, just the silence of knowing I had taken my power back, without yelling, without begging. Just a quiet reminder that when you betray someone who knows how to build, you better pray they never decide to rebuild without you. The court date came faster than either of us expected. She showed up with a lawyer she clearly couldn't afford, wearing the same rehearsed sadness I'd seen in the voicemails. But the judge wasn't moved. The evidence spoke louder than any tears. The transfers, the timeline, the withdrawal attempts after abandonment, and the formal documentation Evan had assembled. Her attorney fumbled, trying to paint the split as emotionally complicated, but the facts were clean, cold, clear. The ruling was swift. I retained the house. I was granted full protection over remaining assets. She was ordered to repay half of the unauthorized transfers or forfeit her claim to joint marital property. In short, she walked away with exactly what she deserved. Nothing. She didn't say a word when it was over. Didn't even look at me as she walked out of that courtroom. Maybe for the first time she understood what she'd actually done. Not just to me but to herself. The bridge wasn't burned. It was obliterated. All the games, all the spin, all the manipulation, had gotten her nowhere but outsmarted and alone. As for me, I sold the house 3 months later. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I used the money to buy a small cabin just outside Asheville. Quiet, secluded, surrounded by trees and far from the noise of everything she'd left behind. I started a remote business, consulting work I never had time for when I was married. It grew faster than I expected. Turns out clarity breeds creativity. Ranger loves it here. He runs the property like he owns it. And every night we sit on the porch together, watching the sunset bleed across the sky. Sometimes I think about her. Not with pain. Not even with bitterness. Just observation. Like looking at an old scar and remembering how it felt when it was fresh. But mostly, I think about the peace that comes from knowing you didn't sink when someone tried to drown you. She left me for another man on a beach in Miami, thinking I'd crumble. But when she tried to cash out, the bank said denied.